Hey everyone, and welcome to Quantum Acacias. My name is DEEDEE, and I am so glad that we found each other. This one is going to be really interesting. If you're new to my channel, like most people are, I am a very, very, very strong advocate for writing down your dreams, and not just your dreams, but also just life experiences, especially particularly on Google Drive, where you can go back in and search, because life is so cyclical. It's really spirally, but cyclical. A lot of things come back around, and I've noticed that if you're really paying attention, when they come back around, there should be an expansion on that concept, almost like the concept of school, like where we learn like the same, basic 7 subjects or whatever. And then as you get older, you are in different, levels. It expands on those original concepts, and so this is one of those things that seems to be coming back around. And I actually was going to do it last week, but life has been really, really doing the utmost. It's been doing the utmost. I went on like this adventure with like these Blue Lotus gummies for like a week after Mother's Day. Yeah. Or was it like right before Mother's Day? I think it was like the first week of May, like the middle of May, and it's just been crazy. And then like there's more stuff going on. It's been very eventful. May has been very eventful so far. And so I was going to do it last week, and then I was like, okay, there's too much going on, so I'm going to have to wait. And so today feels like a good day to talk about it. And maybe it could have something to do with the new moon coming up. The new moon is on May 26th, and I remember like 2 days ago, they're like, May 26th is important. You need to pay attention to it. So maybe this also has to do with May 26th. So this Adventures in the Astrals actually took place on June 7th, 2023. I've also been seeing things about September, like early September 2023 as well. So maybe that could be a message that maybe something going on in 2023 is circling back around. Now, I say June 7th, but typically most of the time when I'm talking about these dreams, that's like the day that like I wake up and write it down. So every morning for the past like 5 years now, I make it my mission to get up and write down my dreams first thing in the morning. It doesn't always work out like that, but pretty much most of the time I do. And that's usually like the first thing I do before I really get my day started, before I get the kids ready, is that I catch those dreams. Because, if you start moving around and everything like that, you could lose them and not really lose them, but, you like really have to dig for them. Unless it's just one of those like powerful dreams, you know what I'm saying? And this is one of those powerful dreams, because I don't have to actually go back and like remember what day it was, because I've been looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, the 7th. So a little bit of background about this dream. It also was coming during a week where there was a lot going on. So this time period in June, from like I'd say the 3rd, really like. I'd say probably to the 14th. And then it took like a brief break, but then it was really lit at the end of that month as well. It was a crazy month. And actually kind of similar things were going on actually that are going on now. So I remember I have like one of my really close friends and her partner at the time like had this dream that our pipes bursted in our house, like in my house. And it was interesting because I had this experience of seeing like this dead bird. And a lot of the time when I see dead birds, not as of recently, since we're finally like in a place that's stable, and that's like a whole nother conversation, but a lot of the time when I see dead birds, it means that there's some type of physical movement happening. So for a period in time, it was about a shift happening like with hotels, but then we got to a point where it started meaning that like it could be like a move, but not necessarily like moving houses or moving hotels. It was about, you know, maybe some type of inconvenience or something like that, or a major shift in paradigm. So I've been seeing these dead birds before he had this dream, and I was like, oh, okay, so the dead bird is like that we could be like temporarily leaving our house. So yeah, a few days after that, the pipes didn't actually burst, thank goodness. But they were going to. So we got to it right before they did burst, and then we were out of the house for about a week. So anyways, during that week, it was a crazy week. And this dream was right before we ended up going to the hotel. Or did I have that in the Airbnb? Did I have this dream in the Airbnb? I don't think I had it in the Airbnb. I think it was right before. So anyways, this is the dream, okay? Okay, so so in this astral, I was driving in a car that I didn't recognize, but I was pretty sure it was a Hyundai Sonata, so I'm sure that is significant. Even like the car that we have, it's not a Hyundai, but it's a Honda. And every time I think about Honda and Hyundai, I associate them to each other. But anyways, it was a Hyundai Sonata, and it was like a grayish kind of car. And I understood that it was, and sorry, I'm like sitting outside. All the kids are home right now. And so I'm like sitting outside trying to do this. But I understood that this car was like a rental car, and I had an ancestor next to me. Now, in the dream, first of all, I couldn't really tell if it was a male or a female. That was the first thing, but I'm pretty sure it was a female. I'm pretty sure. But she looked like a very old Black woman, like during slave times. More of the women who were extremely small and skinny, and she had very dark mahogany type of skin. She had a very, very close, what we call TWA, a teeny weeny afro that was very close cut to her head, and her face was very somber. That's what I would say. Very somber with like a kind of quiet rage, and definitely like those Black grandma, but it's like her energy is so interesting that I don't even know if I would call her necessarily a grandpa. I don't know if I would necessarily even, not a grandpa, but a grandma. And so, okay, I had to go get these kids together. Okay, so anyways, just kind of a person that it's like they're so kind of to themselves and kind of immersed in experiences that have happened that that's kind of what, I don't know, like kind of what you would first kind of see about them, I guess. And anyway, she was in the car and she was very quiet, and we were quiet. I got the feeling of like, it's just not the type of elder that you hold a conversation with, you know, it's not that type of situation. Like, she's been through a lot and she's ready to go. And not like the type of go of like, you've been working at a job and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm through with it. It's not that type. It's like, it's just time to go. And so I was okay, cool. You know, like, I'm okay with the vibe. I'm okay with that. That's cool. Like, I just trust that she's been through a lot, and then like in the future or in some other life or something, if we're supposed to connect, then we will. And so I had an understanding that I was driving her somewhere, and we had been on this long road trip together. And it's interesting because I'm not sure like where I was during the road trip or where she was during the road trip, but it had this feeling that she's been here for a while. And we've been on this journey together. Even though I don't recognize the car, it's not a car that we own. We've been on this journey together for a while, and it was just coming to an end. So we get to this place And I realized that it's a part of Louisiana where my grandparents live. And it's called Algiers, okay? Now, this is a part of Algiers, so I grew up, like, going to my grandparents' house, okay? And there's, like, a lot in the grandparents, but I just don't want to, like, get into everything. But grandparents, okay? And so, I realized that this is Algiers, but this is, like, a side of Algiers that I haven't seen before. And I recognize that in the dream. I'm like, this is definitely Algiers, but what part of Algiers is this? Because I've never been here. And it was like we were deep in the woods somewhere in Algiers. I'm like, how did I even know how to get here? Because, like, aside from my grandparents, even now, it's not like they've been living there all of their lives or anything like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as I know, they picked a really nice house and it was out there, and that's how they got there. But it felt like there was some type of, like, ancestral connection, which I was like, whoa, really? Like, what part of it? Like, what part are we even in? So it was like, ooh, excuse me, that is terrible. Excuse me. We were going... it's 9:57. I think about, like, Faraday cages and coming out of Faraday cages when I see 957. Like, come out of your Faraday cage and let your energy be seen. That's what I think about. You know, like the people with the tin hats that try to, like, you know, keep energies out and stuff like that. Anyways, so it was like we were going really deep into, like, even past neighborhoods, and we're going into this space. Anyways, the space was like, there's this bridge, and the bridge was almost with the road, but there was, like, the special turn that you had to do to get to almost like a bayou kind of. I don't know, because I consciously was not really aware of this place, but subconsciously or unconsciously, I was very aware of this place, but I couldn't quite sync the two to, like, remember everything about it. But it was like the road, if you continued straight, okay, it was like you're driving past these houses and you're going deep into, like, this forested area. So it wasn't a complete forest. There was still some modernization to it, I guess. And this was, like, kind of like a road that if you kept going straight back, you would go over this kind of mini bridge that was still concrete like a road. That place seemed like a place that people would, and my legs I'm starting to get chills in my legs, which is wild. But it was like people, I guess maybe people would walk over that bridge. And that's what I was going to say. Like, it felt like a bridge that they would stop on, like the side of the road on that bridge, and, like, fish over it. Whereas if you didn't go straight and you turned right, instead of going over that road bridge situation, you would turn to a very abrupt stop, and it would be like this bayou kind of situation. Now, I'm saying it like that for a very specific reason, because when we pulled to the bayou, I was getting her out of the car and I realized that she had a wheelchair. So I went to the trunk and I pulled out this wheelchair to put her in it, okay? And she had on, like, this all white thing. I'm pretty sure it was all white. If it wasn't gray, but I'm pretty sure it was all white. And again, she was very somber, ready to go, and she sat in it, and we just had this unspoken, like, just quietness. So I put her in the wheelchair, and I was unsure about which way she wanted to go. Like, in my thinking, I'm like, obviously we should keep on going and, like, just go over the mini bridge and keep exploring. But it seemed like she wanted to go to the bayou. So I was like, okay. But there was something just very strange about this bayou. And I'm calling it a bayou, but I'm not exactly sure if that's what it was. But it was also kind of like a bridge, but the bridge was in the center of the water. It was, like, over the water in the center. And you couldn't really see where the beginning of the bridge was or the end of the bridge, but you definitely couldn't get to it with your car from the angle that we were on, okay? And it's gonna get even more strange. So as we're sitting there, I'm feeling very uncomfortable about this bridge. It's just something about it. I'm just, I don't think you want to go this way. As we're sitting there and I'm contemplating whether I'm going to help her get to this bayou bridge, because she seems very specific. And I understand that, like, obviously with the normal methods, we're not going to get there. So I'm like, I'm going to have to like pull something out of my hat. Like, I don't know if I have to manifest another bridge or something or what, but I'm just like, I don't know about these waters. Like, something about these waters just doesn't feel correct to me. Child, the next thing we know, I kid you not, and this is like definitely top 5 in the astrals of being shocked, like just seeing something and just like your awareness in the astrals is just shocked. Out of nowhere, there's a car that comes zooming, okay, and they hit the curb and they go into the water and drown instantly. Like, the whole car gets swallowed up and you know that they're not coming out of it. And it was almost like they had no sense that this water was really there. It almost felt like the water was almost summoning them there unconsciously. And they had no clue that that was going to be like death for them. And I was like, whoa. Like, I was like, whoa, whoa. The next thing I know, there's another car. And it's like this blue kind of looking, I don't know, it almost looked like a Toyota Yaris or something like that. Like, it was a small kind of car. And there's like this white guy in there, and he's got this black hair and he's got glasses, and he has his whole family in there. And unfortunately, he does the same exact thing. And I'm like, so I'm looking at her in the wheelchair and I'm like, it's calling you, but you need to break that call, because this is not the way that you want to go. And so she finally says something, and I can't remember what it was, but it was very simple. And pretty much she was in agreement. So like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go this way. And the weird thing about it is that it kind of reminds me of, I think in Japan, there's like this forest that people go to like unalive themselves. And they say that even the forest has a certain energy about it. That's kind of what I felt like with this kind of, I'm even seeing it now, kind of like a whirlpool. Like, it was just a strange place. So anyways, as I'm getting her back in the car and we're going to keep on exploring, I literally see a split in reality. It was crazy. And it was a very seamless, like, it wasn't like apocalyptic or anything. But I see one version of myself that's getting her into the car, and we're going to go over the other bridge, the fishing bridge, and just keep on going deep into Algiers. You know what I'm saying? Like let's just keep exploring. Like, let's not fly off the handle just yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're in a mood, okay? I know you're in a mood, but let's just not do that right now. Like, let's just keep on exploring, friend. So as I'm putting her wheelchair in, there's this split in consciousness, and I see myself, and this is crazy. And, okay, so I see myself, okay? So we'll say that now, instead of it being my whole entire visual field and only one point of perspective, now I'm seeing like that version of me on the right and then another version of me on the left, okay? And my main consciousness at this point is kind of hovering between both of them. So I would say like I've got about 40% consciousness, and then it goes down to about 30% consciousness in the wheelchair and stuff. And I guess it's almost like the wheelchair reality, like now that we've made this big decision, it doesn't require as much of my consciousness there. So I can split and go do something else, because we're just going to be driving and she doesn't necessarily really have a direction. And I'm just kind of, going down this like exploratory. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we have to make any type of decisions. We're just going to enjoy the ride in solitude. Well, not solitude, but in silence. And so then on the left side of the screen, we'll say, I am with my family, with a couple of friends, and it is almost Christmas time, okay? Now, this dream that I had was in June, so it wasn't close to Christmas time, okay? It was like Christmas time, and I'm talking to my family. The kids were somewhere else playing, but like adults. So we've got some friends that we talk to and stuff like that, and like family that I usually see for Christmas, and everybody's sitting in the room together, and they're all sitting like in this room, which actually, now that I think about it, looks a lot like when you're setting up a seance, honestly. How people kind of sit in a circle and then they're listening to like the main person kind of talking in the middle of the circle, or a semicircle kind of setup. That's actually kind of how it was. And it wasn't actually my house now. It was like a different house, and it felt like kind of like an old family house that I don't really know whose house it is, but it felt very familiar and very cozy. So I was like, yeah, this is my house too. And so I'm talking to them and I'm like, no, you guys, you don't understand. Wani is coming. And they were like, who is Wani? I'm like, Wepawet. Wepawet. He's the gray wolf of Egypt. And my nickname for him is Wani. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell you. And then as I'm talking to them, okay, and I'm going to get to this in a second. As I'm talking to them, you literally feel the atmosphere in the place shift. Literally, you feel it shift. And I'm like, do you feel the shift? And they're like, I did feel so. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like, I'm about to do this thing and he's going to actually manifest. And like, I want you to just like stay calm, because it's been a while since he's touched down on the planet. I kid you not, this is literally how I'm talking to them. And I'm just like, just try to stay calm, because we've talked about this and I know you don't really understand what I'm saying, but it's happening. So then I literally get out these biscuits, okay? And it took me quite a while to figure out what these biscuits are, okay? So I'll explain kind of what they look like. They look almost like cinnamon rolls, but they're like biscuit style cinnamon rolls with like confectioner sugar and icing. I mean, tons of sugar. So it's like a country biscuit, but it is spiraled with what looks like some type of cinnamon or sugar or something. And the spiral, unlike a cinnamon roll that we traditionally see, and I don't know if, original cinnamon rolls were like this, but the spiral actually goes up. So it actually looks like a little like spiral stairwell kind of. And that's how the biscuit is. So the spiral doesn't stay flat. It actually spirals up to the tip. And then you dust it with sugar, and then you can also put like vanilla icing and drizzle it on there. And then I put like Christmas sprinkles, because it seemed like he really liked Christmas. And so I start dancing around with the cinnamon roll and the confectioner sugar. I mean, like full Disney movie right here. And I feel like I've seen this in a Disney movie, but I can't remember. I don't know if it was like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But there's something like with her like dancing around with food, or I don't know if it was Cinderella or one of those stories. I can't exactly remember, but so I'm dancing around with it, and it's like I'm going into like this trance with the dance. And it was almost like for a moment that it felt timeless. Like it was just me in the room, me and this biscuit, child. And and then he starts to appear in the room. And it was crazy, because I was the one time like, no, I'm telling you, it's going to be so great. And even when I started to see him appear, and it was literally like, there's like this static in the room. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But it was like he was literally like coming, like stepping into the dimension. It was crazy. And I didn't even get the full visual, because then my consciousness shifted somewhere else again. Okay, but I do want to go back to this biscuit though. I'm pretty sure it is the Egyptian spiral bread. I'm pretty sure that that's what it was. And it was kind of like a more modern take on like the Egyptian spiral bread, like as a kind of sweet cinnamon roll. And I think Egyptian spiral bread was sweet, I'm pretty sure. But it was like a modern day mixture of Egyptian spiral bread and then making it into like a cinnamon roll. And so I didn't really get to see him, but I ended up switching to this other space. And I don't know what this other space was, but it was almost like bunk beds. So I was with a cousin of mine. And it was like we were at the top of these two opposite bunk beds in this room, okay? And this is like a very short room. I'm almost convinced that it could have been like a cabin. I don't know. And I feel like I've seen this room before, but I can't quite place where I've seen it before. But it was kind of like a short cabin kind of bunk room that you would see like in a cabin summer camp or something. And we were both laying on the top beds, and I was talking to her about energies. And I was like, yeah, I feel like there's an energy in here right now. I kid you not. I said there was an energy in the room. I could have sworn I just saw a shadow move. Chill, please, chill. Like, chill out. Whenever we start talking about certain energies, like, you're protected, you're safe listening to this, like, you're good. But it's kind of like they kind of sometimes start showing up, child. But anyways, so literally as I'm telling her that, I'm like, yeah, it feels like there's an energy in the room right now. And literally, I kid you not, there was an invisible being. I could not see this being, which actually interesting now that I think about it. There's an invisible being that actually lifted me up out of my bunk bed. I kid you not. My cousin was like freaking out in the room. She was like, DeeDee, what's going on? I'm like, girl, somebody got me, girl. I'm like, girl, somebody got me, girl. They like, and you would think that I was levitating, but I wasn't levitating. Like, someone actually, like, I could feel their hands on my body. And obviously they were super strong because I'm a grown woman and I'm a healthy woman, okay? I'm not small, like, at all. Like, and nothing about me has ever been small. But especially after kids, baby, I'm healthy, okay? Whatever this thing was, baby, I was picked up and floating around the room. And they were keeping me really close to the top. So I don't know if that's like the top of the bunk thing. I'm like 5'2". I claim 5'3", but it's a lie. I'm almost, I think I might even be 5'1", to be honest with you. But it was holding me really close to the top of the ceiling. And so I don't know if that's because they were super tall, but then I'm like, but if your hands are up here, then where's your head at, you know? But then I'm guessing maybe, I don't know, but they were holding me very close to the ceiling, and I couldn't tell if it was like a nefarious thing or if they were being a trickster or they were just trying to be like, hey, I'm here. I don't know, but they put me back down though. And I'm like, in this moment, like, this is a really uncomfortable feeling because, like, in this moment, like, I'm completely at the mercy of this energy. And it was like they were holding me, but also, like, they had some type of, like, hold on my energy field as well. So I'm like, yeah, like, it almost felt like I had a C-section before, and when they give you, like, a spinal tap, and it's like, once you get that spinal tap, like, whatever happens is just going to happen because your body is completely, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's out of there. Like, there's, like, your mind is there and you'll be observing it, but there's nothing that you could do. Like, if you fall off the table, I mean, hopefully no, but I just feel like people have had that happen before. You fall off the table, like, there's nothing you could do. Like, absolutely nothing, because your body is literally just to sleep. And that's what it felt like. Like, my body was to sleep. I could move my head and everything, but my body was asleep. And it was actually pretty crazy. So anyways, I wanted to share that because I thought it was very interesting. And I don't actually hear people talk about Wepawet that much. And there's another fun story, but I'll probably do that a different time. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I found it was interesting. I have not made these biscuits yet. I'm planning to maybe this Christmas to make these biscuits. But there are some things that happened that made me very weary of whether I was going to do these biscuits, and I had to get some clarity on that. Okay, we had to get some understanding on some things. As when you're dealing with really ancient energies, especially when you start talking about primordial energies, their thought process is much different than modern humans. So you got to make sure when you're, merging with someone, or, someone is choosing you as like a, conduit of energy or something, that your morals and ethics and everything align. Okay. So that's what I have. I'm sending you lots of hugs, lots of love, and make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, come back and see me. Check out the description box. Bye.